I think that 2025 is going to be a really bonkers time in the beauty world. Today's video, I wanted to share with you guys the trends that I see emerging, the trends really taking hold, some of which I am so excited about, and others I'm not looking forward to. First trend that I see happening is the continuation of skincare and prep products kind of melding together. We first started to see this last year with the Ilia face-based milk. Even before that, we saw it with the Merit Great Skin, Glossier Future Dew. I really see a huge opportunity for brands to give us prep products that are really going to nourish and moisturize the skin, leave a really either glassy finish or really plumped up finish. So think milky toners, again, think of biphase serums. I'm very interested in actually seeing the drugstores take on this trend. A lot of people were kind of talking about milky toners within the Ordinaries line, but just so you guys know my 2 cents, that product really is not a good base for makeup. It really gave pretty much zero hydration on my skin, kind of just felt like water. However, products like the Haru Haru Wonder Barrier Essence, my holy grail, I see products like that really booming this year. Or even products like I used today, the TierCheer Ceramic Milk Ampule. This is way more in line with something like Glossier Future Dew. It's an emulsion, kind of feels like something between a milky serum and an oil. I'm really, really excited about this trend. This is one of my #1 trend predictions for this year that I am the most excited about, clearly. I mean, if you watched any of my videos last year, you would know that this is a little bit of an obsession for me. And also, you will see this throughout a lot of the trends that I'm talking about. I see a huge Asian beauty influence between products, shades. I think that Asian skincare is a huge influence in the first trend that we just talked about. Hence, literally one of my first recommendations to you guys being the Haru Haru Wonder Barrier Essence. Next, let's go ahead and talk about foundation, or the lack thereof. Second trend that I see taking off this year is using concealer all over the face rather than a foundation and then concealer. I recently talked about this in my video where I talk about the only products you really need. And I think that folks are interested in these multifunctional products, finding out what the core of their makeup bag is going to look like, those dependable products, the ones that you can use in multiple ways. Using concealer all over the face is a really, really easy way to do your makeup. Sometimes you can actually get a more natural effect. I actually did my face today with only concealer. I think that the base looks really, really good. The issue that I see happening with this trend is that concealer formulas that are good for under the eyes tend to not be good concealer formulas for like pimples and blemishes and for the face itself. So I do see some issues arising with cakey under eyes, or certain concealers just not lasting on the face itself. But I don't think it's a coincidence that we've already started to see Lisa Eldridge come out with her Pinpoint Concealer Pen, which, by the way, I am reviewing. Mine is on the way, so make sure you're subscribed if you want to see that review. I don't think it's a coincidence that we're already seeing launches like that. I hope, though, that we see, I mean, honestly, I don't see this happening, but I would love to see concealer palettes or these kind of makeup artistry little hidden gems come back and go viral. Would love to see more people talk about like the RCMA palette. This is what I used today for my whole face. By the way, I did use a different concealer under my eyes, my Kosas Revealer, because even though a formula like this can be manipulated, I'm like insanely kind of picky with my under eye concealer, as you guys probably know. But being able to have a palette to completely customize your concealer shade, I think, is pretty optimal. So I'm very, very curious about this. And honestly, after today and like finishing this look, I'm kind of way more excited about this trend than I thought I would be. There's going to have to be some intentionality with this one. Now, moving into the next step, I'm really just going on with like how I would do my makeup. I do see powder blush coming back. We've been living in the age of cream and liquid blush. I talked about this back in my fall makeup, like trends and makeup bag video. Going with these shades that we already love, but in a more muted tone, I definitely see making an appearance this year. I think a lot of blush lines, shade selection wise, are really going to be influenced a ton by Asian beauty trends. If you think about a lot of Asian beauty trends and the shade selections within a lot of their lines, there are a lot more muted tones. There are definitely some tones meant to brighten, but even those tones tend to be more muted than some of the Western beauty tones. I actually went in with the Girl Cult blush. I leave it linked down below as well as all the products I'm talking about, but this is way more muted than I would typically go for. I mean, for me personally, I really like a muted blush in like the fall, but if you've watched any of my content, red blush is like one of my favorite things to wear all the time. I think red blush definitely had its moment late summer into the fall. I do wonder if it will make another comeback in the summer. By the way, some of the first red blushes I tried were from K-Beauty brands, so just saying. However, again, I do think that powder blushes are going to be making a comeback. More brands are going to be coming out with them. Me personally, just interjecting my hope, I really hope they're not all sparkly. A lot of people have been talking about this return to matte makeup. Again, I'm not completely sold on it, but I can see blushes, blush formulas being like the new finishing powder. Think like Hourglass Ambient Lighting blushes. I see these kind of blush powders becoming more popular this year. But let's talk about highlight. How about like how highlight kind of like completely disappeared? No one, I feel like, talked about highlight in 2024 like at all. But I've been noticing a lot more people talk about highlight, and in specific, these more like balmy highlights. A lot of talk about like Chanel Essential Balm or the K-Beauty dupe, which is the Hints Balm highlight. I put it on today because it's just amazing. This is really the only highlight that I am using anymore. Again, I do see the resurgence of these more Hourglass Ambient Lighting kind of highlights coming back. I would not be surprised if Hourglass has a good year. They are the powders for like no makeup looks. Like we typically think of creams for no makeup, but if we are moving more towards powder, Hourglass is the no makeup powder brand, in my opinion. So I think Hourglass could have a really good year. And in fact, these more subtle highlights, think like Pure Nude highlight from Essence, I could see that like trending again. Now let's talk about one of the trends I'm the most excited about. One and done eyeshadows. I think that eye makeup is finally going to come back. I really do feel like last year there was way less of a focus on eye makeup in general. There weren't a lot of palettes that I wanted to try. For me, it was always single eyeshadows. Half the time I was doing like a matte eye, which is crazy, and then the other time I was doing a wet, glossy, one shadow kind of look. However, I see this year the resurgence of the single eyeshadow, or I see it coming back and being like better than ever. More shades being available, more brands coming out with single eyeshadows, and in general, people just getting more excited about them. This is the Nova eyeshadow in the shade 01, and I do have like a little bit of black liner like shadow, and I'll talk about what I used for that in a second. But I'm just so excited to see wet, sparkly top coats come back with a vengeance. And personally for me, I think that it's going to happen. I think it's going to be a really fun year for sparkle in general. In fact, Urban Decay just re-released Diamond Dog that was from their original Moondust line. A few of you actually reached out to me and were like, Amanda, you need to get Diamond Dog. I was like, done and done. It's in the cart. I bought it. Which in fact, I will have a video on that coming soon. But anyway, that is what I see happening for eyes. But I also see matte eyeshadows coming back as well. But here's the thing is I'm not sure I see palettes really trending again, but I do see single shadows and like something like the Natasha Denona mini palette doing well. So think like a quad with 3 mattes and 1 sparkly top coat a la Tom Ford. I see those kinds of products doing really well this year. I think that folks are going to be wanting to do more structured, smoky looks as well. This to me is like a combination of both. It's like my smoky typical wing with the wet eyeshadow on top. But I think that folks are either going to be going for like a one shadow out the door kind of situation, or wanting something with like less selection, something that's just really easy to come up with a look. So think quads, mini palettes, and folks not being afraid of mattes. Next trend I see really taking off this year is more SPF makeup. I already started to see it last year a bit. That's why I did my like lip SPF video. But with brands like Ciel really booming and doing well in my opinion, I definitely see more eye products a la Supergoop, Shimmer Shade, SPF 30. I see more products like that being available. I see folks wanting their makeup to be doing more for them as far as sun protection. Now, whether or not we should be relying on those products for sun protection, like, no, I don't think we should be doing that, but it's always nice to have a little bit of extra, right? I do wonder if we're going to be seeing more eye products like that. As far as mascara goes, guys, I still think brown mascara is going to be a big trend. We saw a little bit of like different colored mascaras really trending last year, like Pillow Talk from Charlotte Tilbury, like these kind of burgundy mascaras. I still see brown mascara being something that folks want. It can look more natural on some people. I think that more brands are going to be releasing mascaras and just automatically including a brown. I am curious personally to see if Asian beauty style mascaras also start to trickle into Western beauty launches. So think like metal wand mascaras, really waterproof mascaras with a lot of curl. I am curious about it. So for brows have always been really interesting for me. You know what I would love to be a trend? This is just like a side rant. I would love your natural brows to be a trend, like natural brows, whether they are thin, thick, whatever they are. I would just love natural brows to be a thing. Not trying to make your brows look really thick when you more naturally have a really soft brow. I would personally love to see people really embrace their natural brow shape and natural brow look. But let's talk about lips. For me personally, I think, again, Asian beauty is going to have a huge year, especially when it comes to lip products. I'm wearing the Fui Pudding Pot today. You guys know this is like one of my favorite lip products. This is not the shade though, is it? These were featured in Best of Beauty 2024. I got a couple new shades. I'll just give you guys swatches because why not? I have the shade Memories. Love this shade, incredibly pretty. But I'm wearing the shade Chillin' today, and it is literally stunning, but also in this kind of muted kind of mauve tone. Again, a huge trend within a lot of Asian beauty. Lip stains having a huge year again. I mean, I feel like lip stains already had a significant moment in 2024 with lining your lips with a lip stain. Loved that trend. Super, like I do that all the time. But I see more like blurry lips a la like Fui Pudding Pot, or in general, if it's not like a really blurry kind of lip, a really pretty glossy K-beauty lip. I don't know if you guys noticed like Violette FR, her like, I don't know if it's not the Bisou Balm, but like basically her version of like the Generation G from Glossier. All of these products were already inspired by Asian beauty lip products like from years and years ago. Like this is not a new trend. I mean, if we haven't realized it already, like Asian beauty and skincare is way, way ahead of us over here. Just my opinion. Last but certainly not least, in line with where we started the video, talking about primers with like these skincare benefits, I think we're going to see that within setting mists as well. So think like Plump and Juicy from Kosas. I don't think that this really had its moment when it launched. Like, I'm not sure how many people would call this like a holy grail, but I see products like the Tatcha Luminous Dewy Skin Mist, or Laneige Cream Skin, or again, like Kosas Plump and Juicy, or more other products like this. I see these coming back because again, when we're dealing with more powder products, more matte looks potentially, other problems arise from those trends. So if something like a lot of people are saying like matte makeup is going to have its moment, again, I can't fathom that. If that's true, there's going to have to be the antidote for that. So think like why all of the setting sprays that have come out recently are all very, very matte. It's because all of the foundations that are releasing are dewy, dewy, dewy. And oily skinned folks out here are like, I need something to make my makeup last. Which, by the way, we haven't even talked about powder. I absolutely see pink, peach, color correcting powders still having their moment. Lavender powders, think like Givenchy lavender powder. These kind of color corrective powders like I was talking about with concealer, I definitely still see that being a thing. So those are all the trends that I see for 2025. I'm gonna leave all the products that I talked about down below. But I just want to take a moment to say, I would absolutely love to have you this year. I would love to have you join my community. If you enjoyed the video and thought it was helpful, maybe consider subscribing. Overall, thank you guys so much for being here, and I will see you in my next one.